better put a chick in it. And make it fucking gay as fuck.
Going somewhere?
And I want it lame!
Put her on a path of her own choosing, so that no matter which direction she takes, we'll always be one step ahead of her.
What?
That is so lame!
G'day guys and welcome back to Casual Rage. Prepare to start the show, R2. This is where the fun begins. G'day guys and welcome to Casual Rage 166, where we're at a whole new time slot. Although it might not stay in this time slot. We'll have to wait and see. The reason for the change, if you weren't here last week, was because we're playing some Helldivers in approximately 2.5 hours. Myself, Flash, Anna that Star Wars girl, and why can't I remember his name? Now I'm going to have to go searching for it. Cabrutus, who was on Flashcast last week. So yes, it is early in the morning. Well, not too early. It's 9 a.m. Sorry I was a little bit late. Obviously, with the new time slot and everything, this is my day that I would normally sleep in because it's my day off work. So, yeah, but we are here and we're ready. And we're ready to talk about some Star Wars. Obviously, we've got the Acolyte to talk about. We've got the Bad Batch episode breakdown to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about George Lucas. I'm not buying into too much of that. And we've got Seal of the Week. So we've got about 2.5 hours. We're gonna get through all the stuff that we need to get through, and we'll see how we go. Now, when daylight savings ticks over for us, which I think is early April, and it depends on whether or not we keep doing the gaming streams, which I think we want to sort of keep that going. I might then start after because it'll be coming an hour forward. Anyway, I hate the time zone things. We'll get it all sorted out and we'll make sure. Now, last week, we did do 2 polls. It did come out. First one said start earlier. The second one sort of said start later. But there was somebody in the chat, and I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned to me, or they mentioned that if you do the gaming stream and then you do your stream, you might be a bit tired or like, a bit wiped out from streaming so much. So I thought about that and I'm like, okay, that's a good point. I'd probably rather do this stream and then do the gaming stream, because gaming stream you can sort of relax a little bit more. So I thought I'd try this, give it a shot, see how we go. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Casual Rage. We obviously don't have as many people. The time slot has been the time slot for a very long time. So yes. Now, Twitter's been going absolutely crazy. And look, I don't mind being fact-checked. I don't mind being wrong. So I replied to one of Jacob's tweets. We all know Jacob. Because he mentioned that one of the best things in Star Wars was the Geonosis fight. And I put out a tweet about do you recognize any yellow lightsabers? And then people have been fact-checking me and giving me the information. I've never said that I know absolutely everything. I'm not like the be-all and end-all of lore and continuity and canon in Star Wars. I like to think that I'm right most of the time, but I was wrong there. And that's fine. At least I can admit it, right? So let's quickly say hello to the chat and see who we've got here. We've got Completely Honest Reactions is in the chat. How you doing? I've noticed a few newer names because obviously the time slot changed. We got Moz's female jacket wearing bottom GRs. Okay. And we've got Satanist. Oh, that was funny when fucking what's his name said that. Banana Facts with Banana Dave. How you doing? Good to see you. Yes, we've got that. This I saw and I thought was so funny. When's Avatar stream? I haven't even watched the second Avatar, to be honest. The first one was, I think, fine. Like, I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. I know there was a lot of messaging in it. But yeah, Navi's Culture Casino, or Navi Culture Casino. I love the picture. It's so good. Blab's Bubbling Boobies. How you doing? Acolyte trailer saves Star Wars. Huh. Yeah. They probably think it will. Still at work then? That's I feel for you. Let's see who else we got here. Jed's microscopic peen. Look at the picture. How does it feel that your Lord and Savior is a Disney sellout yet again? Yeah, we'll talk about it. Again, I'm not buying too much into the fact that maybe like it could have been George that wrote it. It certainly doesn't come across as something that George would write. But George has been so tapped out of Star Wars, I think, like so many other people. And it's not to justify him coming in and, backing Bob Iger, because I think that's ridiculous. I mean, for the guy, Bob Iger's admitted himself that he felt betrayed. George felt betrayed. So, I don't know. We'll talk about it, though, when we get to it. We've got Aussie ASMR, multi-layered. Thank you for being here. We've got Legit Indian Channel. We've got Star Wars Marvel Purist. Yes, we're going to have force choke that like button. We're going to have a conversation about Plagueis coming up real soon. Tail end of next month, I think we organised it for the 19th. I've got to organise that now around everything that I'm sort of doing. Tyra Nazilla's in the chat. Corey's in the chat. How you doing? Good to see you guys. Pro Jack fan. Ryan Gosling. How you doing? Hey, everyone. Hey. Let's see. Let me just scroll through a little bit here. Fear of Femurs here. Morning, Australia. Evening, America. Fuck everyone else. Eddie, I see you. How you doing? Unlimited Powers here as well. Mike Hill, the great Mike Hill, member of the channel. Star Round 7, Soul Assassin. I see all you there. All right. Because we are limited on time, let's get straight into some of the topics. The first one, excuse me a second. It's in comparison to everything else that's been coming out or been talked about this week in Star Wars. This is just something that I saw and I'm like, that's really interesting. So let's just quickly talk about this. Yes, Blabs. Hello. Yes, of course I do. I changed the time because we're doing gaming stream. But hello. Hello. Good to see you, Blabs. All right. The Din Djarin actor teased a potential new ship for his character in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, again, I don't need to go into the article. That sort of headline on its own is enough for me to talk about. This, to me, is just them realizing how much of a mistake they made getting rid of the Razor Crest. Because we've talked about this a fair bit. For Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, to be flying around in a Naboo starfighter, traveling across the galaxy and everything, you would think is ridiculous. I've talked about this multiple times where you might be going from one end of the galaxy to the other end of the galaxy. And it might take you, let's say, 4 days of travel time to go from this place to this place. Now, in their canon, of course, hyperspace travel time or travel time just in general is not a thing. It's just hyperspace teleportation is what I've called it. But even just standard traveling, not at light speed or anything like that. It just seems that they keep getting to their destination and they're just there. And there seems to be no form of, movement of time throughout the story for other characters as well in the universe. But I think it's because they've realized how ridiculous it is for him to be in a Naboo starfighter. If they do actually end up giving him another ship, a different ship. Maybe Grogu will inherit the Naboo starfighter and Din Djarin will get a ship that he can actually, either collect bounties in. Not that he's collected any bounties or done any bounty hunting since what? Basically, the only time we saw Din Djarin doing bounty hunting is when he didn't have Grogu with him. So the beginning of Mandalorian Season 1, did some bounty hunting until he came across Grogu. And then in the Book of Boba Fett, he did some bounty hunting when he didn't have Grogu. But every other time that he's got Grogu, he doesn't do any bounty hunting. But having a ship that's got like a cargo hold and a bathroom and a bedroom and that sort of thing, that's what the Razor Crest had. And that's something that a Naboo starfighter doesn't have. At least if he is traveling long distances, he can jump into hyperspace and then just chill and relax. A bit like what Han did in Star Wars, A New Hope. Puts the ship into hyperspace and then, goes out, chills, talks to Luke and Obi-Wan. Doesn't need to be sitting there in the cockpit the whole time. At least he can go to the bathroom, relieve himself, all of that sort of thing. And this is, like I said, where I feel like the people that are making Star Wars, whoever it is, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, have realized that they made a mistake putting him in a Naboo starfighter. Don't you think? Man, in the Razor Crest, he was able to he had a portable, oh man, why am I blanking? Because it's too early in the morning. Carbonite chamber. he was able to put his bounties in carbonite, and then like that makes things so much easier. But even if he didn't, to have like a cell, a prison cell sort of thing, or something that he can hold his bounties in. Anyway, we'll have to see whether or not there is any legitimacy to them changing his ship again. Maybe something happens to the Naboo starfighter. He's got to get another ship. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I just saw that and I thought, that's kind of interesting that you realize now that you fucked up with the ship that you gave him, all for what? The SEALs to clap, right? Because they saw a Naboo starfighter and they're like, I know what that is. Hey, I know what that is. Don't you reckon? For sure. Okay, Quinton. How would he go to the bathroom in a Naboo starfighter? That's my whole point. Like, you know, he would have to make pit stops at other places, other planets and things like that. You know, but that was something also too that I noticed. I've noticed it, but I more noticed it in this last episode of The Bad Batch. And that is when these characters go to like a spaceport or they landing on a planet at a spaceport on a planet, you know, like a docking platform or something, they're just arriving. They just get there. They just land there. There's no authorization, you know, yes, land on pad D5, whatever. There's nothing like that. It's just because they're the main characters of the story, they don't need to call in and get authorization or anything like that. They just stop. They just land wherever they want, whenever they want. Why? Because they're a main character of a story. You know, remember in Return of the Jedi when they go to Endor and they need like a clearance code for the shield to be taken down so they can land. You know, things like that. Now, yes, in Star Wars, we've seen ships coming in and leaving, especially in the prequels, when you see those, you know, there's even a cameo of looks like the Millennium Falcon, like, you know, going into Coruscant to land somewhere. Now, that is just the background traffic, right? But when you're concentrating on like a main character and them landing a ship or something like that, they should be calling for clearance of in some way, shape, or form, you would think. So, but we'll get into the Bad Batch. The most recent episode was horrible. It really, really was horrible. Actually, before we get into the Acolyte stuff, let's quickly get the Bad Batch episode out of the way, because if you guys watch my video, it's really funny. By the time I got to the end of the episode, I couldn't really give a review on top of everything that I'd already mentioned throughout the episode. It was just that bad. Like, I couldn't help myself but stop and say, hang on, what is actually going on here? Let me bring this up. I didn't have this ready, sorry. Before we do, let me, because it's Bad Batch related. Oh, X-Men 97. I haven't watched any of it. If I had faith in Disney, I'd probably be interested in something like X-Men 97. But I'm certainly not right now, that's for sure. Okay. Let me put my headphones in just in case. Didn't they show the Razor Crest having a toilet? Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. And they showed the bedroom that he had in there. And they showed his cargo hold. Like, that ship essentially was the perfect ship. And I also find it funny, right, that sorry, I forgot my point. What do I find funny? I've lost it. I've lost my thought. It's because I read this. Because I got fucked over on the yellow lightsabers. And I was wrong. I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. Yellow lightsabers are being demised by Disney. I got fact checked on that. I was wrong in saying I still don't think that you would see too many yellow lightsabers out there, but it doesn't just mean that they had to say. Like, I actually thought, with the reason why I wrote that tweet and everything, I actually thought that the yellow lightsabers actually stay in the temple and they get swapped out. Like, if a Jedi ends up becoming a temple guard, they then get given a yellow lightsaber. That was my understanding, but it does seem that I was wrong on that. No, sorry, Tillium, I haven't had a chance to yet. I have seen it. I've seen your DM, but I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. All right, let me get into this. So there was it wasn't the episode that we just had. It was, I think, the episode before, or possibly even the episode before that. It was in the doubleheader episode. So it was either episode 6 or episode 7. But Omega is the oldest member of the Bad Batch, but just how old is she? Now, they haven't actually specifically said how old she is, right? Because she calls Crosshair her little brother. She says, I'm older than you, little brother. And I was like, really? Is that right? Now, where obviously they've made it so that it is that way, right? But the only understanding of how old we knew Omega to be was in season 2. She mentioned something that she was at Camino for a long time. She grew up in a lab and she was there the whole time until the Bad Batch showed up and basically sort of saved her, right? Got her out of there. The growth acceleration of the actual, main clones. I love it how in this article, because when you actually go to the article, it actually mentions, where was it? Here, Omega is a female clone of Jango Fett who lived most of her life on Camino before joining Clone Force 99 in season 1. Just that alone. Omega is a female clone of Jango Fett. Do they not understand what's wrong with that? I mean, not only have we got Omega being a female clone of Jango, but there's that what's her name? The other chick that's working with Hemlock is a female clone of Jango. But it actually doesn't specifically say how old she is, no matter how much you read through this article. Yeah. They're speculating 13, if not 14, or older during season 3. Like that, nobody actually knows when she was actually made. But apparently she's older than all of them. All of Clone Force 99. Omega's going to grow up a femboy? No. She'll grow up a tomboy. But it's like... I just need to know how you make a female clone of a male character. How do you do that? Is this supposed to be some sort of trans allegory? Is that what it is? Is that all it is? Anyway, so I just saw that and I was like, okay. So that gives Omega the ability to... The one thing that I've noticed in this entire season, and it's something that they do, is that obviously they build up a character, they get the Disney fans loving a character. You know, I've talked about this Babysitters in Space for ages, but Omega is just the best at everything, right? If she needs to escape the Tanta space with the data pad, she can do that. She can also do like a counseling session with Crosshair. She's always got the answers. She's always got the right answers, and she always says the right things, and she always does the right things. Omega really has no challenges. And it's really funny, even in this episode, when they go to meet up with Fennec, Hunter's like, no, you're staying here. And Omega goes to interrupt, and he's like, basically, that's a non-negotiable. You're not coming with us. You're not coming with us. Matt Damon. That's right, Omega. So let's take a look at the episode. Now, this episode to me, again, was just complete and utter filler. Right? It was a side quest video game mission that so let's just go through it really quickly. They get information from Fee. She doesn't find out what an M count is, but she finds out that bounty hunters have been getting M count targets for the Empire. So that basically then leads Hunter and Wrecker on a mission to find bounty hunters that are chasing M count targets for the Empire. Now, that's all the information that they get essentially from Fee. And then Omega says, oh, what about Fennec? You can track down Fennec and find her. Now, I don't know how they figured out where Fennec would be, right? But they do. And they just go to this space station and Fennec just happens to be there. Now, this is one of the points that I was making in regards to them just landing. So you would think that this space station here, that they would have like... Oh, let me go back a little bit. So you'd think this space station here would have some kind of command center, control center that, you know, controls traffic coming in and out of the space station. You would think, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Like I said, they just arrived and they're all good. Now, another thing that I was saying too in this episode was, why are they walking around in plain sight at these places in their clone armor? Like, I've made this point before. I think I made this point in season 2. They're just walking around in their clone armor, but, you know, all I was saying was, in this entire place, what if there is somebody, like, what if this guy here that they're just sitting right next to in the bar is like a Empire loyalist, right? A bounty hunter himself, and basically is just reporting back to the Empire. Look, there's some clone troopers here that I've never seen before. You might want to come and investigate. You don't know that. They don't know that. but they just walk around in their clone armor and it's all hunky-dory, it's all fine. They end up coming across Fennec, right, after there's just a little brawl in the bar. And they ask her for information in regards to an M count. Let's just see if I can get... Hang on. We'll go from here.
I remember you too.
No, we're going to go a little bit further.
In that case, it's going to cost you.
Yeah. The way Fennec is in this too, it's like... It's so funny. Like, throughout this entire episode, Fennec is like in control. Like, basically, these guys are working for her and she does nothing. They do all the work. She gets all the reward and all they want is this information. Now, basically, what the agreement is that Fennec is looking for a high-value bounty and she wants the tracker and the explosives expert, these two, to help her basically find and get this bounty, track this bounty and find him and bring him in. And all I kept thinking to myself is, man, this is a lot to risk for just some intel. Surely, like, you could go around asking other bounty hunters, you know, have you heard about these M count targets? Like, you know, I know you don't want to go asking too many people, but still, this is again what makes the world or the universe so small, because the only bounty hunter that exists right now in Star Wars, in the Star Wars universe, is Fennec Shand. That's it. Let me hit this real quick. Mike Hill for 5. If they find out what the Empire is up to, does that mean they would all die since nobody knew Palpatine returned? If they find out that the Empire... Sorry, if they find out what the Empire is up to, does that mean they would all die since nobody knew Palpatine returned? Well, not necessarily. I mean, this is the thing, though, Mike, is that they're using these shows, and especially this series, to try and help the sequels make sense so that we can have Palpatine's return make sense. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they would all die. When does... No, Rebels is before Palpatine's return as well. Because you got Wolf and you got Rex with all of that stuff. But they were never a part of the Tantus program, the Project Necromancer or anything. I'm not too sure. That's a tough one. Not too sure. Anyway, like I was saying, I think that it's a lot for these guys to risk going after a high-value bounty where they could actually get killed for a little bit of intel, right? On what an M count target actually is.
Stop wasting my time.
We hear the Empire has a bounty out for M count targets.
Why do you want to know about that?
So anyway, it just, the negotiations go on. She basically recruits them to work for her. Then we cut back to, that was another thing too, and I mentioned this in my review, is that before Hunter left, he said to Omega to talk to Crosshair about getting his hand checked. His hand keeps shaking, and getting his actual hand checked, or else it's just going to keep getting worse, right? So it cuts straight back to Crosshair getting his hand checked. So there was no talking him into, getting his hand checked that we saw on screen. It wasn't anything like that. Omega just must have, maybe Force, Jedi mind tricked him into actually getting his hand checked. The droid then mentions, if you open up about what you were, the experiments they did on you, maybe I can then help you and diagnose you, because there's nothing medically that he can do to actually fix his shaking hand. So there's that. Then it cuts back, and they're obviously with Fennec. They're having a debate about, when working for her now. And she's like, well, we made a deal. Tells them about the target. And this is, again, they arrive at the planet. Now, you got to think, whatever this is, this base here, right? It's not just abandoned. You can't, not every place that people fly to in the Star Wars galaxy is abandoned. There's lights on. You've got shit that's actually happening, right? Call in and ask for clearance. What's your purpose here? Oh, we're just, passing through, whatever. But no. Just fly in and land at some port. This, again, for me, and I mentioned this as well, takes away from the world building of the Star Wars universe. They just fly in and land. And the only things that are there are droids, I think. If I remember correctly, yep. And she buys a boat off one of these droids, and apparently it seems like she can understand what they're saying. Oops, I went the wrong way.
10 for that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
The argument that that I see a lot of the Disney shills, the Disney seals give when it comes to droids and stuff like that. Oh, Luke Skywalker was able to understand R2. No, if you actually watch it, he wasn't. C-3PO translates for him the majority of the time. When C-3PO is not there, when he's in his X-Wing, he has the display that translates what R2 is saying. When he's not with either, when he doesn't have a translator screen, or he doesn't have C-3PO, he makes up or assumes what R2 is saying. And it's really funny because when you read, especially I think it's in Heir to the Empire, or at least in that trilogy, it actually mentions that he is assuming what R2 is saying. It actually gives that description. So I hate this whole thing that in Disney Star Wars, it doesn't matter whether or not you speak basic, or whether or not you speak Wookiee or another language, or whether or not you've got droids that don't actually speak basic. People can just understand everything and everyone. And again, don't get fooled by the fact that he showed the tablet and she's like, that's better. Because when they first walk over there, listen. So he's like, that's 10 credits or whatever. Because her response is
10 for that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then he shows her the pad. So again, this is people might say that's a nitpick, man. You're just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking. Okay, it might be a nitpick. It might be something small. But again, it's world building stuff, right? It's character development stuff. But it's also, just because it might be something smaller, it might be a nitpick, doesn't make the criticism any less valid. I've said that so many times. So anyway, they hire a boat. They then drive away. They then come across and there's all these mines that are in the water. Phoenix like, I'm never getting in the water. You guys have basically got to disarm all the mines that are under the water.
He won't be expecting us to disarm them.
So this is the other thing too, right? Is like there was a lot of mines under the water. These two are saying we should just go round. She's like, that's exactly what he wants us to do. So we're going to disarm them and we are going to go through this way. But then not long after that, they start fighting with the crocodile dinosaur things. Oh, not before we cut back to Crosshair not being able to shoot. And then Omega giving him a little counseling session. Again, Omega being the most amazing, like, understanding person in the entire world. Yeah, monster of the week. That's what it was. Honestly, the whole droid communication thing has always been a big world-building issue for me. It makes zero sense whatsoever that not all droids would have standard speech abilities. Yeah, but that's where like translators come in, like translator droids come in, or that's where, you know, it's not to say that people can't learn or start to understand. It's like Han and Chewie, right? Han could understand what Chewie was saying, but that doesn't mean that Luke was able to understand what Chewie was saying, or that Leia was actually able to understand what Chewie was saying. And certainly when it comes to droids and just the beep, beep, boops and stuff like that, it's an issue. And it's an issue for Disney Star Wars. Let's see. People keep telling me that the word shit in Andor is just a nitpick. Yeah. Even if that were true, I'd still argue that it's a valid criticism. I agree. I agree with you. It is a valid criticism. Certainly is. But see, you know, the Disney shills, the Disney seals are now going after like the OT. They were going after the prequels. They weren't able to get what they wanted out of complaining about the prequels. So now they're complaining about the OT. And we might actually watch Grizzly's video when we do Seal of the Week, once we get there. So anyway, Omega is like now becoming the counselor for Crosshair. She says, I've got an idea, but you're not going to like it. And you go, and I can't remember exactly. Hold on. Let me see if I can get the...
Wow.
Anything.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to trust me.
I'm not gonna like it, am I?
You don't like anything.
True.
Hey, I'm going to say this. Even though Omega shits me, right? And even though Omega is the best at everything and has the answers for everything and for everyone, there is a pretty decent dynamic between these two characters. It's just too bad that the way that it's written and the way that it's done is so like there's no depth to it. Through animation, they've actually been able to create a decent chemistry between these two characters. Problem is like I said, Omega is just the bestest ever, the best at everything, and she does have all the answers. There could be a little bit better between them. But then, obviously, it then cuts away again, I think. Yep. And we're back to these guys. Now, Fennec wanted to go through where the mines were because it would give them the element of surprise, because he would expect the bounty would be expecting them to go around the mines as opposed to going through that way. But then you would think that they lose the element of surprise because they start shooting at these crocodile, you know, the monsters of the week, right? And they start flying through there and, you know, they sort of fight them a little bit. and then they finally get to their destination. I got to be careful doing this because I need to do bigger skips. It's very dark too. Very dark episode. So they basically get to the place where the praying mantis is. They start fighting it. And he sort of gets away. But then, Fennec, it's so funny because Fennec's like, you guys go. And they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm going to be the lookout. Fennec does nothing in this entire episode other than basically put the guys down. The Whammon character, right? Anyway, they basically get the bounty eventually. And then we cut back to Omega teaching Crosshair how to meditate. And Crosshair asked her, where did you learn this? And she's like, I learned it from a Wookiee, basically the Wookiee Jedi, the young Wookiee Jedi. I can't remember his name now. Can you remember, chat? Oh, what's his name? Let me keep going. I might think of it. And she learnt this on Kashyyyk. And Crosshair's like, you went to Kashyyyk? She's like, yeah, you've missed a lot. But yeah, basically, gets him to meditate. This is the thing. I want to show you this little clip here.
Not just your hand, but
Hang on. This, to me, is a nice moment. Gunji. You guys have got it in the chat. Let me see if I can just go back slightly here. So Crosshair's hand's shaking. She puts her hand on his hand, turns it over,
adjust your
and tries to calm him. And it's like if there was somebody that you loved and they were going through stresses and you thought that the best way to, deal with this stress or deal with this situation that you've got happening is to maybe even try some meditation, yoga, whatever the case may be, you would do it with empathy. And I feel like they are doing a decent enough job with that with Crosshair. And again, I like Crosshair as a character. Just too bad he's side by side with a Mary Sue. Anyway, it's decent. It's okay. It's not too bad. Then it cuts back to them finishing the mission. And this is where it gets fucking hilarious. I actually, you got to watch, if you haven't watched my review, go and watch it. But man, they've risked their lives to catch a high value bounty that they did nearly die from, right? And they did that for intel. She said that she would be able to give them intel. The deal was that, you help me get this bounty and I'll give you the information that you need. And it ends.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Hang on. You promised us information.
Oh, so you would think that she's going to maybe toss him a data pad or give him some intel, give him some information.
I didn't say I had it on me, but I'll get it after I deliver Siler to my client.
That's not what we agreed on.
You can either fight me or trust me.
Oh, I wanted them to fight her. I wanted them to fight her so bad. They got no choice but to let her go. But then this happens, right? So this was, again, another thing that I mentioned where this is Disney's typical mystery box. They mystery box everything. Everything. You know why? So it's so people can, the weirdos out there can sit there and go, oh, who was Fennec talking to? So let me play you a little bit of this. She brings up a hologram, right?
I just finished a job with some clones. They were asking about the Empire's M-count bounties.
So she's basically portraying them straight away. But the funny thing is even earlier in the episode, when she was telling the clones that it was going to cost them for the information, she's just now giving this information up to somebody freely, which isn't really a Fennec thing to do, right?
What can you tell me? I'm sure you can.
Okay, so you hear the person speaking, but you can't hear the words and you can't make out who it is, right? I have a problem with that. Because as the audience, it's not like Fennec's got headphones in or she's talking to a hologram. So communication should be like open and understandable between them. And if you don't believe me, right, or if you think like, oh, it's again another nitpick sort of thing, what about this? If we go right back to the beginning of the episode when they're talking to Fee, right? These guys are talking, she's
Be
talking,
our only option.
I can probably track Fennec down for you.
and you can clearly see and understand. Now, it's fine if they, in this scene over here, it's fine if they don't want to show who the person is. That's fine. But not hearing the person and basically having this muffled audio, it's just mystery box for the sake of mystery box. So at the end of the day, this episode might end up paying off for Hunter and Wrecker with what they did. But it does seem like they're being double-crossed. And what's the bet? I was saying this in my review as well. What's the bet that who she's talking to is Asajj Ventress? Doing bounty hunting for the Empire, which I wouldn't believe, like, as a character for Ventress, I wouldn't believe that she would be doing that. She's got an M count herself. She's a Force sensitive herself. Wouldn't the Empire actually want Fennec to do experiments on? Fennec. Want Asajj? If that was the case, if it is actually her. But again, you got to remember, Disney Star Wars, the universe and the characters are so small that it's only the main people that interact with the main people. Outside interactions with side characters, docking platforms, command centers, things like that, they don't exist in Disney Star Wars. This was a horrible episode. And I said it's probably it's the worst episode of this season, but it might even be one of the worst episodes in the entire series. That's actually a really fucking good point. How old is that chick bounty hunter? So you're talking about Fennec, obviously. Bad Batch to Mando is a 20 plus year time span. And she looks like she hasn't aged a day. That's very true too. But that's the episode. There were so many problems with this episode. Again, the best parts of it had Crosshair in it, and he had a total of a minute on screen or something like that. This timeline has never made sense. Nothing lines up. So true. It's so true. Nothing lines up. It's a classic, sorry, excuse me, fuck. It's a classic cliffhanger. So whoever is interested in the show will return for the next episode. I think there is a bit of that, but I also think that it's a bit of like, that they seem to just do the mystery box thing constantly. But this is the one that I just showed you there is so in your face a mystery box that they actually make it not make any sense to have their mystery box. To not have the person that she's talking to in that hologram actually saying words and have a muffled conversation. How did Fennec understand that when we can't even understand that? Did it come up with subtitles on the thing so that she was actually reading it as opposed to actually listening to it? Who else could it be? If it's not Asajj Ventress, who else could that be that she's talking to? Because this is the whole reason why they did it. So let's speculate. Who else could it be? Boba? I'm thinking about the timeline. Hold on a second. Boba's not in the Sarlacc yet. He hasn't come out of the Sarlacc. This is well before all of that. Could be Cad Bane. Could be Cad Bane. Could be Boba Fett. Could be Asajj Ventress. Who else? Mara Jade. Sol, don't do that. Trying to think who else they could actually have. They're probably the main three that I can think of that they'd actually do that with. They gave it away in the trailer, I think. What, Asajj? Jar Jar. Maybe it's Star Wars theory. Maybe it's Darth Biden. Hey, it's all right. Star Wars Marvel purist. I see. It's all right. Take a little bit of getting used to a new time. Next week, I might try and start the stream after we do the gaming stream because I'm going to see how long we sort of go for, roughly. And then sort of, because that was another thing that I would thought, you know, if I set the stream up for, let's say, 3 hours after we start the gaming stream, what if we decide to go for 4 hours? What if we decided to go for 5 hours? Now, I don't know whether or not we're even going to go that long, but I don't know. So I didn't want to set up the stream after we did the gaming stream and then, you know, have to change it, you know, all of that sort of thing. I thought, look, I know when we're starting. So let me start earlier, and we'll give that a shot. Let me do the gaming stream this week and then see what time we roughly finish. And then if I can make it work, because I'd rather, like, again, it's my day off. It's a bit of my sleep in day. I get to catch up on a bit of sleep and stuff. Yeah, I don't get to do that if I'm doing it this early. And my head's not screwed on properly at the moment because it's too early. Have you seen the fan-made animation of Helldivers? No, I haven't. He copied the ARC troopers from the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon, really, and it looks awesome. Sol, DM that to me if you can. I'd like to check that out. Fuck, I'm obsessed with Helldivers. Fucking awesome game. Fucking awesome game. Anyway, that is Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 8. Filler episode, horrible episode. There's a lot in there that just doesn't make sense. A lot in there that doesn't make sense. And, you know, I mean, look, if we take on Star Wars Theory's way of thinking when it comes to these cartoons and the Bad Batch and it being for kids and stuff like that, I still think it's bad. Kids aren't that stupid, man. You've still got to have, like I said, when they're flying into some space station, you've still got to have communication between the station and the ship. Where they can land, where they can dock, whatever that, that they need to be able to do that. When they go to the planet where the bounty was, they just fly in and land. Yeah, I know. I think it was mentioned that they're not doing it anymore because they can't get the time to work or something. It's too much for them. Maybe Star Wars Theory watched my video and realized that Mauler and Ryan are making him look even stupider. And he's like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't do this. I doubt it, but you never know. Mike Hill for another $5 says, a company will be releasing Star Wars Blue Milk in April. Would you try it? I'll try it. I'm not going to go out of my way to go and get it, though. And I don't think somebody could send you blue milk. It'd probably be off by the time it gets here. Go bad. I don't know. Maybe if I come across it, I'm not going to try and find it and source it out. But if I come across it, I don't know. I'll buy it and I'll try it. We'll try it live on Casual Rage or something like that. Absolutely. I just sent it. Thank you, Sol. Mauler said it was because of his busy schedule. I think that, look, I can only go off what they're saying and take their word for face value. Anyway, I can only take their word for it, right? In regards to why they can't anymore. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Mauler has realized how, again, shallow Star Wars Theory is when it comes to this stuff. Like, Mauler was the one that bit back at the majority of the bullshit. Like, when Star Wars Theory came up with his scale or how he ranks these Star Wars shows, from 1 to 10, and he doesn't base it off all forms of entertainment. He just bases it off, Disney Star Wars. He relates it to Disney Star Wars. So, only Disney Star Wars can be compared to other Disney Star Wars. Not other Star Wars, not even other shows. His explanation was he wouldn't put the same ranking system in for, let's say, something like The Bad Batch or even The Mandalorian, for that matter, as he would for something like Gladiator, one of his favorite movies that he thinks is a 10 out of 10. I think it's probably a 10 out of 10 too, that movie. But that again, to me, that just means that your ranking system that you give to your audience is completely irrelevant and means nothing. It means nothing to the audience, that's for sure, because they don't know whether or not your ranking system is based off all forms of entertainment and you're giving it the comparison with that. Because he gave this last episode, I think he gave this last episode a 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5 out of 10. Now, if Gladiator, in his eyes, is a 10 out of 10, how is this episode of The Bad Batch a 9.5 out of 10? But see, that's not how his ranking system works. His ranking system works based on other Disney Star Wars properties. So when Mauler Mauler challenged that in that conversation. He didn't understand how that is how his ranking system works. And then the week after that, they had that fight in regards to him saying that it was for kids. So yeah, maybe Mauler's maybe it is his busy schedule and he just doesn't have the time to do it. Maybe there's some truth to that. But I wouldn't put it past the fact that it has something to do with the fact that Mauler's sitting there probably half the time going, what? We can't see Mauler. That's one of the great things about just being a complete icon is, right, I can be sitting here and going, yeah, okay. But behind the scenes, I could be going, yeah, okay. He's talking about. Like, you don't know. You don't know. This time is perfect for me. That's good. And welcome, Z. But yeah, and the other thing too is like, you know, we played the clip of him going, oh, fuck, man, this is connecting to the sequels. And then Ryan brings up, in that last, not the last one, the one before, the one that I did a video from, Ryan says that the reason why they're making this show is to explain the sequel trilogy. And as soon as Ryan says that, Theory goes, oh, man, I really hope not. Man, 2 weeks before that, you were saying, man, this connects to the sequels. 2 weeks goes by and you've forgotten that? To the point where Ryan says the entire reason why they've made this is to connect to the sequels, and then you go, oh, I hope they don't do that. You've seen it with your own goddamn eyes. You said it with your own goddamn mouth. It becomes a joke to me, listening to him. Yeah, that's true. God is great. Beer is good. People are crazy. So anyway, that's this week's episode of The Bad Batch. I said now that we're at the point that we're at, right? The entire plot of these next 10 episodes, roughly, I can't remember exactly how many episodes there are. Is it 18? 16. Fuck. Now I need to know. Oh, that's not spelled right. Season 3 episodes. Okay, number of episodes. 15. So at the point of being at 7 episodes in, so basically like the halfway point, got 8 episodes left. 17? I'm seeing 15 here. Let me have a look. 15. If we were to look, it says 15. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of episodes still to go. And all we're going to get out of those episodes is literally Omega still being the best at everything, them trying to find out what an M count is, why they're after Omega, and because of the M count thing, and possibly finding Tantus. It looks like they've half given up on finding Tantus because they want to get away from Tantus because they are hunting Omega so badly. Oh, let me just hit this really quickly. Full Nelson. says, wish Mauler pushed more when Theory said dumb stuff. He was walking on eggshells a little bit. I agree. Although, this is the thing, though, is that Theory has never been challenged like that before. Never. And, you know, it's funny, when he was doing the streams with Den of Shills, Josh, right? That was sort of like, for want of a better term, an echo chamber stream. Like, Theory would say something stupid like what he said on, let's say, one of the Stargriff streams, and Josh would just sit there and nod and be like, yeah, I agree. Or Josh would say something stupid, and Theory would be like, yeah, I agree. And then they just move on to the next super chat or something like that. Whereas, I didn't say Siri, fucking phone. Whereas Mauler at least did push back against the stupid shit that was said. You know, and I was saying in the video that I did that, you know, Theory is really shouldn't be doing this stream. He's making himself look really stupid. But then somebody made the point that it's actually a good thing that he does these streams and gets a bit of the pushback against his stupidity, because maybe that will make him actually see the other side of it. And maybe actually stop him from being as retarded as he's being when it comes to saying some of these stupid things. Which, fair point. It's a fair point. All right. Let's talk about the big news. Let's get rid of these tabs. Let's talk about the big news. God, I got a few tabs for this one, that's for sure. You know what? Before we do get into the Acolyte, I'm going to talk about something else really quickly. Let me just move these over here. A cigarette for this one. Can't wait to see that Acolyte merch. If they have a problem with him reading super chats all the time, they need to say something. Who had a problem with him reading super chats? I don't think anyone really had a problem with him reading super chats. Fuck. Of course, these phone calls all start coming through now. Okay. My point with the super chats was that becomes the end of, like, one thing that, and I didn't watch a lot of them, and I didn't watch all of them or anything, but the parts that I did see of, oh my God, they're just hanging up and calling back. Stop. What it comes down to is, like, Josh might say something stupid. Star Wars Theory then, like, just nods and agrees with him. But then the conversation sort of just goes dry because that's all it is. There's no, maybe they have recognized that there's stupidity in what he's saying, and then they just move on to a super chat or something to stop the dead air, you know. You want to go home and rethink your life. Yes, death sticks. Light up a hooter. Man. I had a mate come over last night and we had a little schmo. And man, we were so pleased. And it's been so long since I've smoked and I fucking, yeah. It's funny. There was something he said, and I turned to him like, anyway, yeah, it's one of those things you had to be there, but fuck, we had a good laugh. But yes, I'm not smoking every fucking day. No way. No way. Yes, Huda in the US is boobs. That's true. All right, let's talk a little bit about George Lucas. I will say I'm a little disappointed to see this, right? George Lucas backs Disney board and Bob Iger amid proxy fight. Creating magic is not for amateurs. Well, see, this is where, like, even just that little quote alone, I'm not gonna get into this too much because I think that there's something else to this, and I don't think we're ever going to find out. I know that Anna tweeted this out. This is 100% from George's wife trying to play peacekeeper. George has made his true feelings clear. Don't fall for it. I agree with Anna on that one, right? But it's this quote here that you see in here. Creating magic is not for amateurs. George never believed that. In fact, when George made Star Wars, you could almost say he was an amateur. True? The whole statement, the whole letter doesn't sound like George. It doesn't. Now, we could be wrong. It could be George. But based on everything that we've heard, where he did those interviews with those school students and he was saying, well, Star Wars, the main 6 films, they're mine, but they've moved away from where I wanted to go. The white slavers comment. The Bob Iger's book and Bob Iger telling everybody that George felt betrayed. George has a lot of stock in Disney because of the sale. I hope you're right about Anna's remark. I believe it. I do. Now, again, could be wrong. Could be wrong. George could have very well have said it. We don't know. But it just doesn't come across as something that George would say. Doesn't add up? No, it doesn't. Tyron Azilla, you believe it? You believe that it's George? Is that what you're saying? Tilliam doesn't believe that it's from George. I like Anna. She's fun. She's awesome. He needs to divorce her, if so. He's not going to do that. He's too old. He's just looking after his family. It seems more like a Disney lunatic film. Sorry. Rumor hit piece. It does. But we've got to take it on face value. Apparently, George said these things. Okay, George. If it is you that said it, you've sold out again, and you're backing the people that have destroyed your IP. If it wasn't him that said it, God, you kind of wish that he would just come out and go, hang on a second, I didn't say that. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. And who knows what some of the terms and conditions were at the point of sale. You know what I mean? Anyway, like I said, I didn't want to get too much into it because I don't see a lot of validity in it, but I could be wrong. Hey, Greg. Good to see you, man. It's been a while. Hey, I need to speak to you as well because I'm planning on coming over to America in October, and I want to see if there's some way that we can find a way to catch up. Face to face, man. I need to meet you. It's definitely from the same person who handed off his dumb cartoon to Dave Filoni. So you think it is him? And his company to Kathleen Kennedy. Shrug. It's just this quote in here. Creating magic is not for amateurs. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't sound like something George would say. Rhino's going to fight Lofty. Yes, I do want to fight Lofty. Greg doesn't want to see... All right. Anyway, that's the George Lucas news. That's the George Lucas news. All right, let's do the Acolyte. Let's bring this up. I've got a lot of tabs for the Acolyte here, so we're just going to go through it all. So, of course, the first thing that we had was the poster. In an age of light, a darkness rises. It definitely, like I said in my trailer review video, it definitely seems like it sounds like something from like the sequels, you know, dark light rises and dark to meet it, or darkness rises and light to meet it, or whatever the fuck those things are that they say. But the memes for this poster was just unreal. It was fucking good. It was funny. It was funny to watch. Because again, this entire series has been promoted as what, female-centric, going up against the patriarchy, queerness, all the woke buzzwords, really. A crooked head retarded rhino. Anyway, yes, the memes were really fucking funny on this poster. Fucking great. Hello there. Catching up. Hello, Mr. Bantham. Bantham? So the poster, like, it's actually a pretty stupid poster, to be honest. But yes, the blood streak, they obviously did the memes with all the female products. And again, it pretty much based on the way that they've promoted the show. So let's just go through a couple of the tabs. We are going to watch the trailer again and everything. But then IGN comes out with this article. And I think we already sort of knew this. Star Wars The Acolyte, a show dubbed Frozen Meets Kill Bill by showrunner Leslie Headland, has received its first trailer. Frozen meets Kill Bill. So it's like lesbians and revenge. That's what I get from that. Frozen meets Kill Bill. Yeah, I know. I know. What a joke, huh? All right, let's watch the trailer and then we've got some more things to talk about with this. Oh, of course. Of course, Twitter. Scissoring time.
Close your eyes.
They had lesbians in Frozen? No, but the two sisters or something, they'll make that like a lesbian thing. So no, they didn't, but still gay.
Your eyes.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense. What happened? I sensed darkness.
Now, just in regard, like, there's stuff that I've talked about in my video, and obviously sort of broke this down a little bit more. But there was a couple of things that I missed. So he obviously uses a Jedi mind trick to calm this guy down, and then he asks what happened. Now, it does cut. We are assuming that the convict is this guy, but why would this guy sense anything? Is he force sensitive? If it is this guy, is my question. It could be a line from somebody else, but it does say convict, right? This convict sensed darkness. Out of nowhere, just everybody is force sensitive. I guess with what they did with Sabine in the Ahsoka series, I guess anyone can be force sensitive, right?
Sensed darkness.
Now, this is the other thing too that I want to point out with this show. Not only are they going to obviously do irreparable amounts of damage to possibly Yoda, Plagueis, Tenebrous, basically the rule of two, the Sith, being in hiding, all of that sort of thing. But if the Jedi sense any form of darkness, if the Jedi are being killed, obviously the Jedi are investigating these other Jedis being killed, which is what the Jedi would do, right? But they can't have anything that leads back to lightsabers or anything like that. So let me give you an example, right? In the Plagueis book, there's a part of that where Plagueis actually gets deceived, and he's put into a position where he's basically walked into a trap, and they're going to kill him. Palpatine figures this out and gets to where Plagueis is and saves him, right? Now, at the end of that battle, at the end of that fight, Palpatine says to Plagueis, we need to go. The Jedi, if I sensed this, the Jedi probably sensed it too, right? Because they had to unleash their dark side abilities. So there's a chance that the Jedi would sense what's actually going on. And it was on Coruscant. So there's a very good chance they would have sensed it. But then when the Jedi get there, because they did sense it and they did investigate it, when they get there, there was no bodies. Like, they use their lightsabers and things like that. Now, you can't have these bodies having scorched lightsaber marks on them or anything like that. So they basically sort of cleaned up the crime scene, you could say, to deceive the Jedi. And again, written and done really well. Now, that's not to say that that can't happen in this show. But do you really think that somebody like Leslie Headland or anyone there at Lucasfilm are smart enough to be able to write this the way that they need to write it so that they can keep the Sith in hiding while they might still be unleashing their abilities and their powers and possibly being seen by Jedi? You know, even in what's it called? Maul Shadow Hunter, right? Maul has to be very careful with his strategies and what he does and what he uses and how he kills people and, you know, all of that, because he's still trying to hide the identity of the Sith. So there's a lot of writing that needs to go into this to be able to keep what we already know and the structures that we already have of the Sith not being around for a millennia, or for, like, you know, the bit where Maul says we're finally reveal ourselves to the Jedi. They need to do a lot of work to make sure that that continuity stays in check. Do you really think with the amount of continuity damage and the amount of lore damage and canon damage that they're doing that they really have the ability to do that? I doubt it. This was another bit too. Watch when she does her kick over his head. The duck and everything, the choreography is bad. It's just as bad as the choreography that we see in like things like The Mandalorian, things like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
This isn't about good or bad.
And it's not about good or bad. It's about power.
This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
What is that?
That's it. 2-episode premiere, June 4th, out of 8 episodes. So that, look, to be honest with you, there's not too much more that I can say that I didn't react to in my video to this. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about how that is the Acolyte chick because she sees fire, and this is like a flashback. I noticed that people are talking about this alien here when he says close your eyes, and he's the only one that can't close his eyes. It's kind of funny. But anyway, it does definitely feel a lot like Matrixy with the fight scenes that you see. I still have a problem with the yellow lightsabers, but, you know, again, I got fact-checked on that, and I stand corrected. Still have a problem with it. This character here, this is the chick that played X-23 in Logan. And there's actually something that I've got here for that. This is actually the next one. Leslie Headland on casting Daphne, I think it is, Keen, as a Jedi in the Acolyte. I just wanted to see X-23 with a lightsaber in their hand. This has to happen. It would, like, isn't the correct pronoun her hand? I checked to see if this Daphne Keen chick has pronouns in her bio, and she is a she, or like there's no pronouns, so you would assume. But the way it's described, I just wanted to see X-23 with a lightsaber. Well, she's not playing as X-23 in the Star Wars universe, is the first thing. Right? And then to say in their hand, it's just like, oh my God, can you promote this show any worse than you have? What's my problem with the yellow lightsabers? My understanding of the yellow lightsabers is that they were for the temple guards, and they would actually switch out their lightsaber. If they were put on station or put on the post of being a temple guard, they would swap out a lightsaber. the yellow lightsabers, from my understanding, was that they stayed in the temple. Now, I've been fact-checked on that, and I've been proven wrong. But, like, the point that I want to make is, like, the Battle of Geonosis, right? When all the Jedi are there and they're igniting their lightsabers. Rewatch it. How many yellow lightsabers do you see? This is the start of the Clone Wars, where all the Jedi are basically being sent out. All of them. How many lightsabers do you think you see? I can already tell you, 0, none, nothing, like none, 0. So it was just something that I noticed, something that I saw. You've got a heap of yellow lightsabers. Okay. All good, fractured filter. So yeah, anyway, she just wanted to see X-23 with a lightsaber. And then we've also got something like this. Let's listen to Leslie Fucktard Headland.
When I saw Frozen as a grown ass woman, I cried.
Even the way she talks. When I saw Frozen as a grown ass woman, I cried
Through the entire movie.
Did you now? Do you believe that? From start to finish, she cried through the entire movie. Bullshit. This is the kind of person that, to me, is a chronic liar. Chronic.
Just something about the relationship between the sisters, the like de-villainization of the classic kind of fairy tale bad guy, the concept of true love being between two sisters and not a heterosexual relationship. Like it just destroyed me completely. And I thought,
oh, seeing them in a heterosexual relationship destroyed you. Like the way she talks, again, this is not good promotion for this show.
gosh, I would love to make something like this that is, for lack of a better term, Disney, meaning it's something that like my parents would have allowed me to see when I was younger as a queer person.
Gotcha.
But I would have been able to understand as a queer person. And I think I would have had a
So hang on. You cried through the entirety of Frozen, but it didn't have your queer representation in it. But you would love to be able to make something like that. Like, it's so contradictory, is my entire point. When she speaks, she lies, and the bullshit just spurts out. It's kind of like Kamala Harris. Kamala, fuck, whatever the fuck her name is. Your fucking vice president. It's just word garbage coming out of the mouth and chronic lies. Mike Hill, for another 5, says, now I'm conflicted to watch Phantom Menace re-release in theaters, since there will be a new exclusive first look at the Acolyte. Oh, are they actually doing that? It's actually funny that you mentioned that because of the way she describes this in just a second. Hold on, let me just play a little bit more here.
A different life. And so I really was inspired by it and was like, God, I would love to make a story like this. And so when I was developing this original idea to pitch to Kathleen, I thought, well, it can't just be that, when you're pitching Star Wars, you have to pull from what George was also interested in. Like, it can't just be like, well, I'm referencing, especially if you're going to set something, during the High Republic or end of High Republic into prequels.
That bit there. During High Republic or end of High Republic into prequels. They are really trying to push the prequel narrative with this series. Massively. She mentions the High Republic, but it's almost like, hold on, she almost like feels like she sort of made a mistake. She's got to say the prequels. It's a prequel's prequel. Raging Rhino, so do you think that Mando season 1 and 2 sucked? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
you don't have the Skywalker saga. Like, you can't reference a character that was created by George and or Filoni. Like, you have to create your own new characters.
It's that end bit that gets it for me too. So if you understood Star Wars, you would know that the rule of two of the Sith kept going for thousands of years, from Darth Bane all the way through to Plagueis and Palpatine, even moving into Vader and Palpatine, right? And your knowledge and understanding of where we are in the timeline should really be that if we're going back 100 years, then Plagueis should be approximately, I think, in his early teens, something like that, right? And Tenebris would be the main Sith master. So this is the thing. If they don't do Tenebris or Plagueis, if they don't show Tenebris or Plagueis in this series, they've already failed. The problem is if they do show Tenebris and Plagueis, they're probably going to fuck it up. So in which case they've failed. They're probably going to fuck Yoda up too in this. If they even show Yoda. Does Leslie even know that Yoda was around in this time period? Maybe because Dave Filoni is the chief creative officer and maybe he got involved early enough to be able to... who knows? Who knows? But the way she talks is like, you are dumb as dog shit. Fucking horrible. And then there's this. The Acolyte details. Set 100 years before The Phantom Menace. Didn't use the volume VFX at all during filming. Is that a positive, is it? Is that a pro? I thought the volume was supposed to be this almighty fucking stage, filming platform that they can fucking use for nearly everything. And it was supposed to make things better. Have they finally realized that that's actually restricting them in space and the way that it looks is ridiculous? Honestly, when they were standing on that beach and looking over at the thing, right, all the Jedi in the trailer, I thought that was in the volume. So it surprises me that it's not because it actually looked that bad. Narratively similar to Andor, okay. 8 episodes around 30 minutes long. Pitched as a multi-season show. We'll get to that in a second. And incorporates EU/Legends lore. Why? Isn't that decanonized? Oh, you want to pluck from that. You want to destroy that because that's what they're going to do. The EU and Legends lore has to do with Plagueis and Tenebris, surely. But again, it's just another thing where they're like the Bad Batch plucking Tantus out of there, right? Turning it into something that it wasn't. This is going to be a disaster. An absolute disaster. So this, hang on. Yeah. The Acolyte creator, Leslie Headland, confirms the show will incorporate material from EU Legends. Let's see what she has to say here. There's also some EU lore that I decided to put in because I thought it was so cool. Not because it fits. Hang on, let me finish this. And no one told me I couldn't. There are a couple of very big EU ideas that are utilized both early on in the series and later in the series. So she wants to use the EU because it's cool and because no one told her that she couldn't. Not because it's supposed to fit in the timeline. Not because it wouldn't make sense if I didn't put that stuff in there. But again, then they're just going to destroy it, destroy Plagueis. I don't know why they're showing... I don't even know why they're showing an image of these characters. Because this is thousands of years before, and this is during the time of Vader. So this is after, and this is well before. There's nothing out of those two characters that should be around 100 years before the Phantom Menace. But cool. Let's see what you do with it. And here we go. The Acolyte creator, Leslie Headland, says she wanted to save some people for season 2, seemingly confirming that the series will have a second season. This is just like, if this is the case and she's been greenlit for a second season, this is exactly the same, as giving Ryan Johnson a trilogy before anyone even saw his movie. And that's it. Star Wars is so fucked. Two sizzle reels. It's fucking Christmas early. Yep. But this is like, this series is definitely that typical put a chick in it kind of shit.
Put a chick in it and make her name it gay. Put a chick in it and make her name it gay.
Because that's what the series is. That's all it really is. All right, here we go. Let's so we're going to start wrapping this stream up, and then actually let me put my Twitch, because I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. I should really set up a kick, but I'm going to put I'll get that sorted hopefully, but I'm going to put the link to my Twitch in the chat, because we're going to be over there playing some video games when this stream finishes. It's all there. Okay. Dude, stream here too. Nah, I'm not streaming on YouTube. Maybe we set up a Raging Rhino Games or something like that. Maybe. I think it's just better just to do it on either Twitch or play that Helldivers clip, Rhino. It's only a minute. Which one, Soul? DM that to me now. Which one you want me to play? Oh, the one that you sent to me. All right, hold on. Let's take a look. Oh, Twitter.
Commander, approaching target. Begin jamming signals. Yes, sir. Open doors. Approaching droid perimeter. We are undetected. Gun it, sir.
Whoa. I've loved fucking the...
Relay site. One in the rubble. Sir. Another in the rafters. Yes, sir. Everyone else with me. Move out.
This is really good. Man, really good. That's good. I love fucking, man, there's so many like Helldivers clips out there. Like people just from their gameplay and stuff. It was so funny. The other night I was playing with two of my mates from work and Mr. Grant Gregory, and we were evacing. And one of my mates from work, he was only level 2. He's only just sort of started playing it. And he was trying to get in the ship, and we were all already in there, strapped in, sitting in the seats, and he was stuck between the ramp, right, and like the door. So like he was trying to get in, and he was trying to maneuver his way in. And because he's still learning all the buttons, he was sort of just mashing buttons to try and get in the ship. And he ends up shooting. He shot inside the ship, killed Mr. Grant Gregory, got in the ship, and evac'd, right, without bringing Mr. Grant Gregory back. So you lose XP for that. But it was just hilarious the way it fucking happened, the way it went down. Fuck, there's moments like that. It's so good. Okay. Oh, get rid of that one. We'll get rid of that one. All right, so this week is going to be a very biased week for Seal of the Week. Very. All right, here we go. Where's the fucking thing?
I'm all the Jedi.
All right, so nominee number 1 is not Star Wars Theory, but it's a reply to Star Wars Theory's tweet. Now, what Star Wars Theory says here is actually pretty based. I agree with it, right? Everyone in the Acolyte who sees a red lightsaber has to die. If they don't, prequels canon breaks. And then he goes on to say, Maul was the first Sith to be seen in 1,000 years. And he goes on to say, what more? We'll see. Maybe it'll be like a Rogue One situation where they all get offed. But it's not that's pretty based, I will say, in regards to, I mean, I'm saying the same thing. Basically, all the Jedi that see a Sith or see a red lightsaber or everything can't report back. If they do get killed, it needs to be covered up really, really well so that when the Jedi realize that 7 Jedi have gone missing or been killed, it doesn't lead back to the Sith. So, of course, Jacob jumps in on this and says, did people just forget that Qui-Gon Jinn literally duels Darth Maul on Tatooine with people watching, and the Jedi Council still didn't believe him? Incorrect. Incorrect. That is a lie. It's bullshit. They did. They even said maybe you go and help the princess, or you go and help Queen Amidala, sorry, while we try and uncover the mystery of this Sith. What do you mean they didn't believe him? All they said was that it would be hard to believe that the Sith would come back and we didn't sense it. But that didn't mean that they didn't believe that he actually fought someone with people watching, Obi-Wan standing there able to confirm this. If they would have listened to him, maybe their downfall wouldn't have happened. Incorrect as well, because they did listen to him. But they didn't, and allowed the Sith to rise out of the shadows again. Jacob, again, I'm willing to take the L on my take on the yellow lightsabers tweet that I put out, right? But this is just beyond a joke, to the point where, mate, I question whether or not you've even seen The Phantom Menace. So that's nominee number 1. Nominee number 2 is Jacob, saying, best Star Wars show incoming. The hype is so real. And this is where I replied to that, saying, this guy, Mando, best show in all Star Wars. The Clone Wars Season 7, best show in all Star Wars. Boba Fett, best show in all Star Wars. Kenobi, best show in all Star Wars. Tales of the Jedi, best show in all Star Wars. Bad Batch, best show in all Star Wars. Acolyte, gonna be the best show in all Star Wars. Disney Star Wars, best Star Wars in all Star Wars. Like, this guy is beyond a joke. Anyway, that's nominee number 2. Nominee number 3 is Jacob. This was after all the memes came out. If your first thought after seeing the poster for the Acolyte is to make jokes at the expense of women, then you have much more deeper rooted issues than just disliking new Star Wars projects. Absolute cringe and outright sickening. Well, my reply to that was, the dislike and hatred for Disney Star Wars is 100% warranted. Kennedy, Favreau, Filoni, and the rest of them at Lucasfilm have given us no reason to have faith or trust in their abilities to make good Star Wars. Your boner for Disney Star Wars is outright sickening. By the way, what is a woman? So funny. That tweet actually did reasonably well. But yeah, so that's nominee number 3. And nominee number 4 is Jacob. So you get to pick which one is the most silliest of them all, right? Now, this was in response to Grizzy's tweet.
The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
I do not believe the Sith could return without us knowing.
What is that?
But Grizzy also, if I click on this, there was...
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge. At last.
But then you've got Jacob that jumps in and says, the Jedi believed that the Sith were extinct for a millennium. They weren't. No shit. The entire plot of the prequels is about how they lurked in the shadows and gained power and control through manipulation, including blindsiding the Jedi. Like, that's the whole point. Yes, but what you're saying, like, this is the thing. That was the point of the prequels. We're now talking about the Acolyte and how that is going to do damage to the prequels because of what they're doing. Can you not see that? It's like he's trying to justify it using, I don't know. Anyway, they're your 4 nominees. Let's get the poll in the chat. Seal of the week. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all Jacob. He can't not win Seal of the Week. It's just which one is worse than the others. So he's got his take on the Jedi Council not believing Qui-Gon Jinn, which is, again, it puts into question whether or not he's ever even watched The Phantom Menace. Then he's got the Acolyte is going to be the best Star Wars show incoming. Then you've got his complaints about people memeing the poster. And then you've got his justificational take on why the prequels exist and how the Sith were involved in that. Get your votes in, guys. Get your votes in. Now, I was going to watch one of Grizzy's videos, but I'm running out of time because we're starting in 20 minutes. So get your votes in. Just need to share my... So I'm just, while you guys are voting on this, I'm just writing back to the guys about this stream. Okay. Again, next week, guys, I might see how we go with the gaming one and then try and maybe plan just to see if I can do this after that one. And then when daylight savings then changes for us, I might actually be able to start, like, instead of starting at 12:30 as I usually do, I'd start maybe around 1:30 and I will do it after. But I got to wait for daylight savings on that one. Okay. Let's see. Why did I stop sharing? So you got 1, 2, that one, 3, and 4. All right, I think that's good enough. We got 21 votes in the bag. Let's do this. All right. So in last place was number 3. His take on the poster. Oh. In second last place, they'd had 14% of the vote. In second last place with 19% of the vote was number 1. His take on Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul on Tatooine and the Jedi Council not believing him. In second place with 23% of the vote was number 4. The Jedi believed the Sith were extinct for a millennium. They weren't. And the winner for this week's Seal of the Week was Jacob. Of course it was Jacob. And it was number 2 with 42% of the vote on Best Star Wars Show Incoming. The hype is so real. because that's what he says about every Star Wars show that he either has just come out or that's coming. So congratulations, Jacob. You had no choice but to win this week's Seal of the Week.
I'm all the Jedi.
All right. And that is it. We are done for another week of Casual Rage. If you haven't checked out some of my videos, check out my videos. If you haven't seen my reviews for The Bad Batch, they're out there. You can obviously go and watch those, and you can go and watch my reaction to the actual trailer and my first time watching it. I didn't get to stay away from screenshots of it, but I didn't watch it until I actually was able to react to it right then and there. But thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate you guys. We are going to be over on Twitch very, very shortly. I'm going to be playing with Flash, Anna, and... Why? And Cabrutus. I got to fucking remember that. So check us out over there. The link is in the chat. Thank you, everyone, again. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks to the members. And just thanks, everyone, for hanging out. If you come back and you're rewatching the stream, thank you guys as well. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And we will see you next week. I will obviously let you guys know when we're going to be doing Casual Rage next week. But get ready for it, and we'll see you there. Bye, guys.
Put a ticket in, make her name it gay!
A few minutes? Are you kidding? At the rate they're gaining?
No, what is it? You have to shoot this. Traveling through hyperspace is like ain't like Dustin Crop's kid. Without precise calculations, we fly too close to a store. They're bounce into a supermarket and then...
Yeah.
Be a hell of a mess.
What's that?
Watch. You're losing the deflector shields. Go strap yourselves in. Be careful on the way out.
Yeah, sure. I'm taking it very cautiously.
You... Go away!
We bounced too near a supermarket?
They came bounding over.
Fuck off! Disney! You fucking cunt!